For every high priest, chapter 5 now. For every high priest being taken from among men is ordained on behalf of men in matters pertaining to God, that he may offer both gifts and sacrifices for sin, being able to deal gently with the ignorant and the misguided, because he too is encompassed with weakness. For which reason he ought to make offerings for sins for himself as well as for the people. And no one takes this honor upon himself, but one called of God. That's the word called again, as in the case of Aaron. Just so even Christ did not glorify himself to be made high priest, but he who said to him, "You are my son, today I have begotten you." And he spoke the same way in another place, "You are a priest forever, after the order of Melchizedek." This man, in the days of his flesh, offered with strong crying and tears both prayers and supplications to him who was able to save him from death. And he was heard. Why? But he feared. Perfect love didn't cast out his fear. Perfect love cast out everything but that fear. Jesus' prayer was heard because he feared God. For although he was a son, he learned obedience by the things that he suffered. And when he was made perfect, he became the source of eternal salvation for all who obey him. Oh, listen, look at that. He's the source of eternal salvation for all who do what? What about if you disobey him? Then your carcass is going to drop in this wilderness and you're not going to make it home. Ordained as he was by God to be a high priest after the order of Melchizedek. We have many things to say about him, but they are hard to explain because you have become hard of hearing. You know, you can become hard of hearing. You can sit right here. This, I've seen it happen. You have too. Think about it. See people right here rejoice in the truth, dance in the Spirit, have wonderful testimonies, and then get their minds and their desires on something else and get hard of hearing. Where the Word of God didn't stop thrilling them, and desires for other things entered in. He said these folks were becoming hard of hearing. He's trying to frighten them to do something to save themselves and get their minds back on God and real life. For the time having come when you ought to be teachers, you need someone to reteach you. What are the elementary fundamentals of God's oracles? And you have become such as need milk and not solid food. Everyone who drinks milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is an infant. But solid food is for those fully grown, who by experience have the senses trained to discern both good and evil.